Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So many times we hear the phrase on the right, go woke, go broke. And sadly, many times that is not actually the case, because when these companies go woke and they engage in woke capitalism, it's very evident that they're doing so to increase their profit margins, because if it was so non-profitable for them, they wouldn't do it. Yes, there are exceptions. For example, if NASCAR happens to go woke, or like country music artists, for example, where you do have their base of support and base of following, the consumers tend to be more conservative, then yes, typically you will see more of a drop-off in support. We've seen this even with some NFL teams back when the whole take a knee thing was going on, the whole fad back in 2017, 2018. We know that. But furthermore, typically it doesn't usually end up that way. And many people know by now about the Bud Light incident that took place. They decided to partner up with an influencer on the left, a transgender influencer by the name of Dylan Mulvaney, born a man, identifies as a woman, is really only famous for being transgender and promoting the alphabet agenda. They put this individual on a beer can and shipped it out to her to announce this whole partnership debacle that they were going to do. And as a result, it was rightfully met with outrage on the right, and we know that, and there were calls for a boycott. Now, is this boycott actually working is the real question, because we do know that a lot of consumers of beer typically tend to be men, especially this type of beer. They tend to lean more conservative than obviously your like IPA enjoyer or your craft beer enjoyer out in Portland, Oregon, whatever. So looking at that, it's like, okay, maybe they would take the hint from that in and of itself and actually try to change something. And as a result, what we do know is they have lost a lot of money in their market cap, at least for right now, in just the week after the partnership was announced. So they have lost quite a bit of revenue. So they already clearly made a big mistake, and they paid for it. And they were met with a lot of outrage, and they were met with declining sales, especially for Bud Light. And as a result, action may have been taken. And you see this right here because the marketing VP has taken what they call a leave of absence, because keep in mind, the CEOs are not always the people engaging in this woke capitalism. In many cases, they're not. Of course, you had Don Jr. specifically say, don't boycott Bud Light because the CEO gives to Republicans. First of all, that's dumb. He should not have said that, and that is not how you go about this. If the CEO typically is conservative of Anheuser-Busch, which is the large firm that owns Bud Light, then if anything, you should be more inclined to boycott it, because they would be more inclined to take the message. And as a result, the partnership has wiped off $6 billion off the value of the company in and of itself, and they have replaced this individual who was of that designation, was a big supporter of the alphabet agenda, was a huge leftist. They decided to hire a diversity hire for the VP of marketing for Bud Light. They're gone. They're out of the way. They're taking a leave of absence. They've been placed on the back burner. We don't exactly know if this person is going to come back. It's very possible that they do. And obviously the partnership is still going on. Keep boycotting Bud Light, obviously. We could talk about how light beer is bad for health reasons. I'm not a big fan of it. If people are going to drink, probably don't drink this type of thing that has a lot of liquid estrogen in it, right? You probably, if you're going to drink, have something like hard liquor or even wine. I think has a net positive effect on testosterone levels, whatever. That's a whole nother topic, the health effects of alcohol, the pros and cons. In many cases, they are cons, especially in the case of beer. Don't drink too much of it for obvious reasons. But what I will say is that keep boycotting Bud Light. If you are going to be drinking beer, you're probably better off drinking Yuengling, which is a traditional American lager, and they are very conservative, and they've actually taken plenty of subtle shots as a company at Bud Light, and their profits are through the roof. I know it's not available in every state, but it is actually, I believe, the oldest beer to be brewed in the United States of America. It is from Pennsylvania. But keep this in mind, that just because something like this happens doesn't mean that you take your foot off the gas. And this is something that the right consistently gets wrong time and time again when it comes down to something like this. Because the left, when you give them an inch, they will take a mile. The right doesn't do that. And as a result, the right keeps losing, and that's a problem. You see more of this. You see more of this, and you're going to see more and more of this if the right doesn't actually put their foot down and actually keep fighting this, because the second that they take their foot off the gas, they keep losing. Think of the fact that this is something that's seen as normalized, or something that a company could even see being a good idea or even profitable in many cases. The whole idea of the fact that a man could believe themselves to be a woman was laughed at even by Democrats 20 years ago, but right now you are blacklisted from everything in society if you happen to state the mainstream position 20 years ago on the topic today. Why exactly is that? It's because of the fact that conservatives don't know how to fight back. They consistently lie down, they roll over, and nothing gets done. So this is why things like boycotts can actually be effective if they are utilized properly, and in many cases, they're not. But I think this is one of those cases where the line was just crossed a little bit too far, and it is a product that typically has a more conservative consumer base compared to other products, and as a result, they are to a large degree paying the price. And of course, the CEO went out there and they're just like, oh, well, we're not trying to be a part of this discussion that divides people. We're trying to bring people together. And I'm focused on, building this company up first and foremost and listening to our customers. So already you can tell they're caving. The CEO's going out there to a certain extent. They're caving, but it's not enough. That's what I have to say. It's not enough. And the whole go woke, go broke thing usually is not true. And this is something that I think a lot of conservatives need to understand. Yes, there are cases where it is. This may be one of them. But in many cases, it's just not true. And I think that there needs to be some way of identifying certain corporations that are woke. And that's another thing, because then you have people like MTG going out there and saying, oh, well, I only drink Coors, and then Coors is doing the same thing. DeSantis is saying, I drink Guinness. Guinness had commercials with transgender individuals in them very recently. So it's not exactly like these other brands are your friends in many cases. And also, you look deeper into it, and it's like this whole, we're going to create our own brand, and it's going to be, super gimmicky. It's like, oh, this is the right-wing drink here. And it's like, okay, if you're going to be too gimmicky, that's not going to go mainstream. That's not going to be something that's going to be super viable to your average disaffected individual who isn't really that political. You're not going to really expand the brand with them, because a lot of people don't even care that much about politics in general society, and they don't vote, but they do partake in the consumer culture, and you are going to need to get them on your side. And when we see this, with the whole Daily Wire things, oh, we're going to release our own chocolate, we're going to release our own razors. It's like, I understand the sentiment, but at the same time, I don't believe that that's going to solve the problem with woke capitalism. And you're basically selling something in your merch store to your followers more so than anything else at that point. And I will say that. So you have to be able to be viable in the arena if you are going to be a company consumer-wise that's going to go out there and just be normal, because I think that's really what we're vying for here, is some sense of normalcy, because what you see with a lot of these corporations and the woke capitalism they're partaking in, it's not normal, and they can have a serious effect on society, because these corporations in many cases have more power than the government. Remember Twitter, all these social media platforms, they kicked off the sitting president of the United States over essentially a lie and banned him from all of their platforms. They have more power than the supposedly most powerful individual in the world. And it's not just those companies, it's all these conglomerates, it's all these monopolies, etc. This is a major problem. And honestly, I think the only way that we're significantly going to be able to stop this sort of thing is to institute some form of a woke tax, one way or another. And maybe you could pass it along as, oh, we're going to give like tax breaks to certain corporations and or a deduction that don't engage in these political speech or political stunts, whatever. But at the same time, we're sitting here and it's like, in the meantime, we don't have power. And obviously we'll have the woke tax discussion, but as of right now, what can we exactly do? I don't know, like make an identifier app where it'll identify certain products as being a part of corporations that are donating to liberals or liberal causes, or just in the case of Bud Light, outrightly engaging in this destructive woke capitalism type of thing. So that's what it comes down to. I think that the boycott is a very good thing. I'm not one to usually believe that all of these boycotts usually work, but in a case like this is something that the right really is hammering home. And a lot of people out there are looking at this and they're just saying, this is weird. We're not really vibing with this whole Bud Light thing. We're not vibing with this stunt. And that's true. And you look at who drinks beer. Typically, your non-college educated white male is probably the typical beer consumer. Obviously, a lot of different groups drink beer, even light beer, even Bud Light. We know that. But still, the consumers of beer typically lean more conservative. That we know. And even if they're like Democrats and they're like Hispanic or whatever, they might not fully vibe with this right here. They might not vibe with this. And as a result, they probably are going to be less likely to be drinking Bud Light as well, for all we know. So definitely they are hitting in the profits. I don't know if this is temporary, but if this remains temporary and conservatives take their foot off of the gas and are unwilling to push back against this ideology, against this woke capitalism, then they're going to continue losing. And this is going to be standard. You're going to have a rainbow flag on every single beer can from every single beer company except for maybe Yingling and the ones that come south of the border like Corona or Modelo, but that's basically it. What I will say is keep pushing. The war is not over, but these are net positives that are coming out of this for sure, and they are taking note, and these things can work if we keep going. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.